watching The 7 from WATE 6 on your side.
Good evening, I'm Bo Williams, and welcome to The 7. Let's get a look at the big 7 stories right now. And topping the list for us tonight, places caring for vulnerable people have taken major precautions in the past 2 years because of the pandemic. But the recent spread of Omicron has made that task even more challenging for senior living facilities. Since the start of the pandemic, long-term care facilities continue to learn what works and what does not. At American House in West Knoxville, Omicron has made that more challenging, but not impossible. Like many other industries, staffing became more difficult because the transmission rate is so much higher. Randy Manifold, the executive director, says to cope, they cross-trained employees so they could fill any empty shift necessary.
We've just had to go back and look at our staffing patterns and then our needs within the building, and we're just staffing appropriately. We definitely, like I said, could use a couple more staff members, but our team is solid and they're dedicated to taking care of these residents that they've built relationships with.
Fortunately for these residents, Omicron has not canceled most activities, so they can still enjoy life outside of their rooms. But some long-term care facilities are seeing higher transmission and deaths from COVID-19. According to the Tennessee Department of Health's website, here in Knoxville, a total of at least 13 residents have recently died from COVID. And next on our list, some businesses in our area are now installing UV air purification systems in heating and cooling units to reduce the spread of bacteria and viruses like COVID-19. But how effective is this? Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies is one of several businesses that have installed UV air purification and disinfectant systems throughout their buildings. The aquarium says it's just one of the things they are doing to help keep their employees, animals, and visitors safe. Now, as air comes through their building, it goes through air handlers to recirculate, and it passes by large UVC lights that kill the germs. The system also uses UV light, which is up to 99.6% effective in killing mold, mildew, viruses, and bacteria.
Adding the UV to the air handler system removes it airborne. We're still using electrostatic disinfectant guns and wiping down all of our surfaces, being a little bit more vigilant in our cleaning process.
We're told ultraviolet radiation stops the development of microorganisms on surfaces, but more studies still need to be done. However, businesses that do have these UV air purification systems say they feel better having it than not having it. And we are learning a subvariant of the Omicron strain of the COVID-19 virus appears to be on the rise in at least 40 countries. This is according to the World Health Organization. The stealth Omicron variant, as some scientists are now calling it, can be difficult to identify because it lacks a genetic characteristic that scientists used to identify the original Omicron variant. While the original Omicron variant, known as BA1, is considered very contagious by healthcare officials, researchers say the subvariant could be even more contagious. Now, if you still need your COVID shot, the Knox County Community Action Committee is holding a second mass vaccine clinic this weekend. It is scheduled for Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2. Everyone 5 and older can get their first or second COVID shot or a booster. The clinic is at the John T. O'Connor Senior Center, which is on Winona Street in Knoxville. Next on our list, schools were back in session today after time off due to low staffing. Now, because of illness and winter weather, the break, something a number of families across Knoxville had to adapt to quickly. And while kids may enjoy the opportunity, parents often need to juggle those children's needs or their children's needs with working at home. Now, we spoke to a mom who used to work as a 4th grade teacher. Now she blogs about motherhood, education, and offers materials to help out parents. She says it comes down to focusing on your child's independence, arguing that allowing playtime on their own and independent learning will help your child in the long run.
Because it is allowing them to build up problem-solving skills. It's allowing them to build up resiliency skills, and they're building their imagination and their creative skills. They're even working through some like socio-emotional skills.
But she warns building these skills is gradual, and younger kids are not prepared to be left alone for long periods of time, so shoot for around 20-minute intervals. She also says for every student, if they are at home now virtual learning, it's about a routine. Keeping routines in place helps our kids to know what's coming and what's expected of them. That Knoxville-based mom also says parents should not be too hard on themselves during this time, and you can find the link to Emily Lawson's blog, Sandbox Academy, under this story on WATE.com. Let's take a look at the numbers at UT Medical Center. They are seeing a small but welcome drop in cases, 157 as of this morning. And look to the far side of your screen. The step down in the bar graph shows the 30-day hospitalization trend, now trending down at least from one day to the next. The vast majority of these COVID-19 cases at UT Medical Center are in unvaccinated patients. And we're also taking a look at Covenant Health's daily COVID dashboard. Their report from noon today shows 265 people in the hospital with confirmed COVID-19 cases, with 336 suspected cases of COVID-19. Now here the ICU count seems to be holding fairly steady, and we can see that 73% of ICU patients are unvaccinated. Also on our Big 7 list for you, Austin East Magnet High School students will be learning from home for the rest of the week. Friday, Knox County Schools asked the state and got approval for a waiver from in-person learning requirements. It's a sign of just how the state has adapted now to COVID. School districts now need permission to switch to virtual learning mode. Now, today we got our hands on the application to the state. In it, Knox County Schools writes, quote, "We have run out of teachers who can cover classes," end quote. Goes on to say that staff are covering classes on their planning period and combining classes in the auditorium and gym. The application shows 30% of staff in quarantine or isolation as of Friday, as well as 26% of students. Plus, there are low numbers when it comes to substitutes. Now, the virtual learning move was approved through this Friday. And as of last Friday, 30% of staffers, again, were in isolation or quarantine, as we mentioned. More than a quarter of students were in that situation. The document shows AE has averaged 19 to 25 teacher absences in a day, with only 1 to 3 substitutes available. Austin East posted the schedule for virtual days, and you can find it on our website. Just go to WATE.com. Next on the Big 7, the city of Knoxville held a virtual mayor's roundtable on homelessness today. An entire group of local government agencies, ministries, other community partners gathered to share updates, coordinate efforts, and to hold one another accountable for the city's plan to address the issue. Now, this included what they expect a new police chief to understand about homelessness, like knowing it is a combination of economic reason and personal behavior that creates the problem, and that it will take a community effort to change it.
Top candidates who becomes the next chief of police will understand that homelessness is a multiply determined phenomena, and that there are many pathways into homelessness and many pathways out of homelessness.
Current Police Chief Eve Thomas is retiring from the force later this year. The city is welcoming public comment on what they would like to see from the person filling that position. Next in the Big 7, the parents of Summer Wells now in the center of a domestic assault situation. According to police, Candace Bly reported Don Wells for domestic assault last week. Officials with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office say dispatchers told officers that they could hear arguing in the background of the line, then lost contact. When officers got to the home, Bly told them Wells had hit her, grabbed her throat, and then pushed her against the wall. The report says Bly added both had been drinking alcohol. Now, according to Wells, the two had been arguing, but he never touched her. Police say they saw no marks on Bly's neck, but EMS reported her thumb appeared to be stubbed. Now, neither was arrested, and the two were referred to private prosecution. And rounding out the Big 7 for you, Save Our Smokies now has a new mission, eradicating graffiti on federal land. You know, last year, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park saw more visitors than ever before in recorded history. But more visitors also means more trash and, sadly, more graffiti throughout the Smokies. That's a problem that Save Our Smokies says is unacceptable. In addition to the nonprofit's work to clean up litter, they are now planning to buy a pressure washing trailer to help the national park clean up paint and marker that has been used to deface the park. Right now, they say their biggest struggle is just getting the message out that graffiti is not allowed.
Often we hear people say, "Oh, I didn't realize that's not allowed." And part of it's because they're seeing so much of it, and so it seems like it's allowed because of the volume that they're seeing. And then just, getting the resources we need to be able to get out there, just like, the equipment and things we need to get out there and do the job.
Volunteers will Save Our Smokies will undergo training to safely remove graffiti in April. Until then, though, they are hoping to raise enough money to buy the pressure washing trailer and other protective equipment. And if you'd like to help out in this cause or sign up as a volunteer, visit Save Our Smokies. You can find that over on Facebook.